Hey guys, welcome to HR with Sanchita. So I hope you all are fine. So today's topic is method of settling industrial disputes, in which I would be discussing arbitration, conciliation, mediation, and the role of bipartite committees. Okay, and yes, like, share, and subscribe to my channel as well as hit the bell icon and share with your fellow mates as well, because I would be covering more and more topics every day which are really important for your UGC NET exam. Okay. So yes, now let's start. So, settlement of industrial disputes. So, see, industrial disputes can be settled by two ways, that is without state intervention and with state intervention. So, here state intervention means government intervention. Okay. So, see, under without state intervention, there are these three things, that is voluntary arbitration, collective bargaining with conciliation, then collective bargaining without conciliation. So I would be explaining all of these further in the slides. And here comes with state intervention. So these are the methods: compulsory collective bargaining, compulsory establishment of bipartite committees, compulsory investigation, compulsory conciliation and mediation, and compulsory arbitration and adjudication. Now let's understand all of these in depth. Okay. First we will do without state intervention, matlab without government intervention. So collective bargaining. So obviously through collective bargaining also a lot of industrial disputes can be resolved. Okay. And here without state intervention, collective bargaining is of two types or is classified under two heads: collective bargaining without conciliation, collective bargaining with conciliation. So see, in conciliation, a third party comes, okay, or a third person comes and then helps both the parties to resolve the disputes. Okay. So without conciliation would be when the trade unions and the employers are not calling the third party. Okay, they try to resolve it within themselves. So that is without conciliation. And sometimes there's a stage when through collective agreements also both the parties, that is employers and the employees, are not able to resolve the disputes. So that is when they reach to a deadlock point. Okay, deadlock means that when discussions are not able to resolve the issues between both the parties, then what they do is they bring a third party which help them in resolving the disputes. So just remember students, in conciliation, the conciliator or the conciliating person does not give the final decision or award, but he just helps the parties in coming to a solution to the issue. Okay, so he or she does not give the final decision but only helps the parties clear each other's viewpoints. Okay, so he just helps. Okay, he just makes the function smooth and he just helps in arriving to a final decision. So this is collective bargaining with conciliation. Okay. Now here to just make things clear, I have also given what happens in collective bargaining, or what is the process, and what matters are generally dealt in collective bargaining. So see, collective bargaining is generally related to matters like wages, working condition, work hours. Okay, so whenever there are issues related to wages, for example, the employees or the workers must be needing more wages and the employer is paying less wages to them, then also issues can arise. Okay. And related to working conditions, if the working conditions are not good in a company or in a factory, then obviously trade unions can raise issues related to working conditions. Or if people are working too much, like more than they can work in a day, so issues can be raised related to work hours also. Okay, so these are the issues that are generally dealt in collective bargaining. And see, what is the process I've just listed down in most of the organizations. This is the process that is adapted in the collective bargaining process. First of all, the unions of the employees represent the interests, demands and grievances collectively to the employer or their association. Obviously, for example, trade unions represent their demands, whatever the issues are, to the employer or their association, because employers or the owners of the organizations, they also have their associations. Okay. Then what happens is they represent their interest, and then discussions and negotiations take place, okay, as per the give and take policy. So with the give and take policy, I mean that obviously both the parties should gain from the negotiation, because अगर एक ही पार्टी गेन कर रही होगी then दूसरी पार्टी को लगेगा कि मेरे benefit में या मेरे interest में तो nothing is happening, right? So that is why it's a give and take policy, that somewhere one party has to compromise also, and so that the other party can gain, okay? So both the parties need to compromise things so that both the parties can gain. So that is what is give and take policy, okay? Then after the discussions and negotiation, they sign a formal agreement or an informal understanding, both the parties, when both the parties are mutually satisfied. So see, at sometimes they do sign a formal agreement on papers, और sometimes they can also have an informal understanding, okay? जरूरी नहीं है कि पेपर साइन ही करने, कई बार कर भी सकते हैं, और कई बार बस informally कि हाँ हमने ऐसे ये चीज पे एग्री किया है, अब इस चीज से रिलेटेड आगे issues won't be raised. So that is informal understanding, okay? Then so अगर negotiations fail हो जाते हैं, in case the negotiations are failed or are not arrived at, if we do not arrive at a particular solution to which both the parties agree, then what happens is that means that the negotiation or the collective bargaining process has failed, okay? So post that workers may resort to a strike, or the employers may lock out the company or may lock out the organization, ठीक है? अगर उन workers के benefit में नहीं decision हो पा रहा है then they may strike, और अगर employers के benefit में नहीं हो पा रहा है then they may lock out, ठीक है? So this is it. Now so next again without state intervention का next जो हमने है that is voluntary arbitration, okay? Now इसमें भी क्या होता है, one third party comes, ठीक है, आर्बिट्रेशन में. सो अब देखिए आर्बिट्रेशन भी विदाउट स्टेट इंटरवेंशन में टू टाइप्स का होता है, ठीक है. वन इज वॉलंटरी आर्बिट्रेशन विद कंपल्सरी एक्सेप्टेंस ऑफ द अवार्ड. अब देखिए ये विदाउट स्टेट इंटरवेंशन है, इसीलिए यहाँ पे दे आर नॉट अपोज्ड, दे आर नॉट इम्पोज्ड आर्बिट्रेशन, मतलब इनको फोर्स नहीं किया जा रहा है कि इन्हें आर्बिट्रेटर अपॉइंट करना ही पड़ेगा अपने डिस्प्यूट्स रिजॉल्व करने के लिए, क्योंकि दिस इज विदाउट स्टेट इंटरवेंशन. यहाँ पे गवर्नमेंट का कोई रोल नहीं है. सो इट इज देयर विल एंड विश इफ दे वांट एन आर्बिट्रेटर टू कम एंड इंटरवीन इन देयर डिस्प्यूट. सो इट इज द विल एंड विश ऑफ द एम्प्लॉयर एंड द ट्रेड यूनियंस, ओके. हियर so now the first type is voluntary arbitration with compulsory acceptance of the award. अब अवार्ड क्या होता है, जो डिसीजन एक थर्ड पार्टी को हम ला रहे हैं तो ऑब्वियसली आर्बिट्रेशन में वो डिसीजन भी देती है. कंसिलिएशन में सिर्फ हेल्प करते हैं, ठीक है, सिर्फ हेल्प करते हैं कंसिलिएशन में ताकि दे कैन रीच टू अ कलेक्टिव एग्रीमेंट, बट इन आर्बिट्रेशन ऑब्वियसली दे ट्राई टू गिव देयर डिसीजन. नाउ द फर्स्ट टाइप ऑफ आर्बिट्रेशन इज where compulsory acceptance of the award is there. Okay, so here the parties agree in advance to accept the decision of the arbitrator. अब I told you arbitrator decision लेता है, तो यहाँ पे जहाँ पे compulsory acceptance of the award है, award यहाँ पे कोई prize वाला award नहीं है, award is the decision related to the dispute, okay, whatever result of the dispute or whatever the decision the arbitrator has in his mind related to the dispute. So here what happens is that the parties agree in advance to accept the decision of the arbitrator. So before appointing the arbitrator or when the arbitrator has come, so before वो अपना पूरा resolution का mechanism चालू करता है arbitrator, उससे पहले the parties agree that yes whatever the decision would be given by the arbitrator, भले वो किसी के भी interest में हो, that both the parties would agree. So this is voluntary arbitration with compulsory acceptance of the award. An award is the decision related to the dispute, okay. Now this second type of arbitration under this category is voluntary arbitration with voluntary acceptance of the award. अब आप जब voluntary क्या होता है, अपनी मर्जी से, ठीक है, it's their choice. So you just remember in schools like people used to ask you that voluntarily come and यहाँ पे function को conduct कराने में मदद कीजिए, we need volunteers for it. Or if something is being organized in the nearest temple, nearest gurudwara, then volunteer to help out. the community, help out the temple people, right? So that is voluntary. अब यहाँ पे क्या है, the parties are free to accept or not accept the decision of the judge or arbitrator. अब now these parties have appointed the arbitrator, ठीक है. अब पार्टीज ने, दोनों पार्टीज जो हैं, मतलब एम्प्लॉयर्स और एम्प्लॉयज की, दे अपॉइंटेड द आर्बिट्रेटर, बट हेयर वट एवर डिसीजन द आर्बिट्रेटर गिव्स, द पार्टीज वुड बी फ्री टू एक्सेप्ट और नॉट एक्सेप्ट. दे कैन एक्सेप्ट ऑल्सो और दे कैन नॉट एक्सेप्ट द डिसीजन और द अवार्ड ऑफ द आर्बिट्रेटर इन दिस केस. सो दैट इज वाई इट इज वॉलंटरी आर्बिट्रेशन विद वॉलंटरी एक्सेप्टेंस ऑफ द अवार्ड. अब वॉलंटरी आर्बिट्रेशन क्यों कहा गया है कि अपनी मर्जी है कि आर्बिट्रेटर को लाना है कि नहीं, क्योंकि ये विदाउट स्टेट इंटरवेंशन वाला है. अब यहाँ पे वॉलंटरी एक्सेप्टेंस इसलिए कि ये पिछले वाले में क्या था, इन द लास्ट वन उन्होंने पहले ही एग्री कर लिया था कि वी वुड एक्सेप्ट द डिसीजन ऑफ द अवार्ड ऑफ द आर्बिट्रेटर, बट हेयर they are free to accept or not accept. So whatever the decision is given by the arbitrator, they would after that think कि his decision is right or not, or if you want to accept it or not. So that is voluntary acceptance of the award. Okay, yeah. So अब now the last two ones, हमने पिछले जो हमने collective bargaining और voluntary arbitration देखा, that was without state intervention or without government intervention. Now we would start studying settlement of industrial disputes with state intervention. Okay, so here compulsory establishment of bipartite committees. अब bipartite क्या होती हैं, दो parties होती हैं जिसमें, ठीक है. So now here what is given is the state or here every time whenever I write state in my these PPTs, I mean the government, okay, because generally outside India or internationally government is referred to as state, they call it as state, so that is why I have mentioned here state. So the state has made various enactments, that means it has made various laws which require the establishment of the bipartite committees, which consist of representatives of workers and employers. तो bipartite committees में representative of workers होते हैं, ठीक है, और एम्प्लॉयर्स होते हैं. अब रिप्रेजेंटेटिव ऑफ वर्कर्स कौन सी होती हैं, ट्रेड यूनियंस होती हैं, राइट. सो वेरियस, ये कह रहा है कि यहाँ पे वेरियस एक्ट्स, तभी ये विद स्टेट इंटरवेंशन तभी है ना, वेरियस एक्ट्स हैव मेड कंपल्सरीली एस्टैब्लिशमेंट ऑफ बायपार्टीट कमिटीज. और अगर आपने कभी लॉज पढ़े हो तो इंडस्ट्रियल डिस्प्यूट्स एक्ट वगैरह के अंदर भी दे आर वर्क्स कमिटी है, ठीक है, ग्रीवियंस सेटलमेंट कमिटीज है, तो दीज ऑल आर बायपार्टीट कमिटीज. सो इंडिया में भी ऐसे लॉज है जिनमें बायपार्टीट कमिटीज को लॉ के अंडर भी रिकॉग्नाइज किया गया है, एंड the organizations need to establish these committees in their organization. So these committees have the power to resolve differences between the workers and employers. Obviously ये differences resolve करती हैं, और ये क्या होता है, they resolve the differences at the starting point whenever it is seen that some conflict is arising or there is some seed of conflict in the organization, so they settle it then and there so that it cannot grow into big conflicts. Okay, so that is why these are established inside the organization only, so that even peace and harmony can be maintained in the organization, because छोटी conflicts को resolve करना is easy rather than big conflicts, right. So these work committees and all the bipartite committees help in this thing. Okay. Then examples of bipartite committees include joint industrial councils, district councils, work committee. Now you need to remember these, because you know often in exams it is also asked which of the following is a bipartite committee, okay, or which of the following is a tripartite committee. So today I am teaching you bipartite committees, and soon in other classes, whenever I will just be going forward on industrial relations, I would be teaching you other tripartite forms of committees as well. Okay, so you should know these things. So here you should note down in your notebooks as well that joint industrial councils, district councils, work committees are bipartite committees. So see these, इनका जन्म कहाँ से हुआ, these they were constituted upon the recommendation of Whiteley Committee in Great Britain. So सबसे पहले ये ग्रेट ब्रिटेन में आई थी, वाइटली कमेटी वहाँ पे सेटअप हुई थी, तो उन्होंने ये चीज़ें रेकमेंड की थी कि ये बायपार्टीट कमेटी सेटअप होनी चाहिए ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस में, राइट. एंड सो एज आई टोल्ड यू बिफोर दैट इन इंडिया ऑल्सो वर्क्स कमिटी सेटअप अंडर द इंडस्ट्रियल डिस्प्यूट्स एक्ट. Okay, and what is the duty of work committee under the Industrial Disputes Act? That is to secure and preserve amity and good relations. Okay, to secure peace and good relations among the employees and the employer. Okay, so this is it. Now, and this example also I had given that even Grievance Redressal Committee is also set up under the Industrial Disputes Act. So work committee, work committee, Grievance Redressal Committee. So you should remember that these are bipartite committees, okay? And it is also set up for resolving the dispute related to individual workmen. So obviously, whenever we are working in an organization, there can be grievances between individual workmen as well, okay? So there should be a committee for them. So Grievance Redressal Committee helps in resolving the disputes of the individual workmen. Now next which comes under the settlement with state intervention is establishment of compulsory collective bargaining. So जो पिछली वाली collective bargaining हमने पढ़ी थी, that was like वो थी voluntary, मतलब अगर organizations को करनी है उन पे कोई force नहीं था. But in some states or in some countries, what happens is that the state forces to establish the collective bargaining mechanism so that the parties can settle their differences through mutual discussion and negotiations rather than strike and lockouts. So guys, in some countries or in some states, like the state intervenes and tells the organizations compulsorily to establish collective bargaining mechanism, okay? The reason being, because if through collective bargaining things can be resolved, then it is good, right? Rather than strikes and lockouts, and it will even cause unrest in the industries, and even it will hurt our economy as well. So that is why things should be settled within the organization through collective bargaining. That is why they say that compulsory establishment of these collective bargaining cycles or collective bargaining mechanisms. Now, see, now the National Labour Relations Act, which is also called the Wagner Act, and the Labour Management Relations Act, which is also called Taft-Hartley Act, has made refusal by the employer to bargain as an unfair labour practice, okay? So you should remember these. First of all, just remember these acts. These are like very important international acts that are there, and you should also know that which is the Wagner Act. So Wagner Act is National Labour Relations Act, and the Labour Management Relations Act is the Taft-Hartley Act. So they have also made the refusal by the employer to bargain as an unfair labor practice, okay? So now what comes is conciliation and mediation. So this is with state intervention, okay? So conciliation and mediation. So I want to tell you that these both words, that is conciliation and mediation, are used interchangeably, but there is a little difference between them, okay? So see, conciliator is more active and intervening, okay, and mediator serves as a messenger. But again, I have told you that these both parties do not give the final decision or do not give the final award, okay, they just help. So if we talk about conciliator is more active and intervening, okay? So he's more active and intervening, matlab he takes more interest to resolve the dispute, so he's more active, while mediator serves as a messenger. matlab एक पार्टी की बात दूसरी पार्टी को बोली, दूसरे की बात फर्स्ट को बोली, ठीक है? तो फॉर एग्जांपल एम्प्लॉयर्स की जो बातें हैं वो एम्प्लॉय के आगे रखी, एम्प्लॉय की बातें एम्प्लॉयर के आगे रखी, सो ही वुड बी जस्ट सर्विंग एज अ मीडिएटर, बट कंसिलिएटर अपने भी व्यूज देगा, राइट? तो खुद ज्यादा उसका जो इंटरवेंशन का लेवल होगा दैट वुड बी मोर, ओके? Now here comes voluntary conciliation and mediation and compulsory conciliation and mediation. So here again I want to just remind you that we are studying dispute resolution with state intervention. So voluntary conciliation and mediation means that the state sets up a conciliation and mediation machinery, okay? So the state sets up a machinery and it has the persons who are trained in it, but the state does not impose obligations to use that machinery. Did you understand? Voluntary conciliation and mediation, that the state will set up a conciliation and mediation machinery, and it also consists of the person who are trained in it, but it is not compulsory for the organizations to use that machinery, okay? So if they want to use it, they can, and if they don't want to use it, it's up to their choice, okay? So the state provides the service without imposing any obligations to use it. Now you must be having confusion that, ma'am, why is it with state intervention? So it is with state intervention because here the state sets up a conciliation and mediation machinery, okay? So it is setting up, the state is doing something, right? right, for you, that it's setting up a conciliation and mediation machinery, but it depends on the organizations whether they want to use it or not. Okay. So next, now this is compulsory conciliation and mediation, where it is made compulsory that you have to use conciliation and mediation for resolving your conflicts or for resolving your industrial disputes. So see, let's read it, that in many countries the state imposes an obligation on the parties to refer the dispute to the conciliation authority. The reason is that the state wants both the parties not to strike or lock out until when the conciliation proceedings are on. So one concept I want to tell you is cooling off period, which is there. So see, in cooling off period, what is there is like, while both the employer and the employees are resolving their disputes, or the conciliator is carrying on proceedings related to the dispute, so there can be a period in which like they can resolve their differences as well. So that is cooling off period. Do you mean like ऐसे कहते हैं कि अरे थोड़ी देर बाद बात करते हैं, गुस्सा ठंडा हो जाएगा, right? Whenever some person is angry, what you do is you say chalo let's talk to him after some time, so that जो anger का level है that can reduce. So that is the same thing in conciliation as well. So this period, the term which is being given is cooling off period. Okay, so whenever the conciliation proceedings are going on, because it takes some time for the conciliator to know the facts, okay, to analyze the facts, that who's wrong, who's right, right? So in that period, so that period is called a cooling off period, where the things can settle down. Okay, so that is why also some states are making it compulsory for conciliation and mediation of the disputes. Okay, then next comes settlement with state intervention. So here is compulsory investigation. So you have also like read in many acts that courts of inquiry are set up. So why these courts of inquiry are set up? To analyze the relevant facts and issues involved, right? And yes, have you heard that whenever a case is publicly heard, so most of you also get involved, मतलब कि not directly involved, but you people also, the general public also starts giving thoughts on the particular matter, that ये होना चाहिए कि नहीं. So when maternity benefit जब 6 months हुआ था, पहले तो कम होता था, जब 6 months की holidays उन्होंने कहा कि 6 months की leave देनी ही है, तो उसमें public का भी बहुत बड़ा रोल था, because public भी अपने views देते थे, हाँ this should be there, that should be there. और जब भी many laws, जो भी हमारे जो सारे laws होते हैं, ठीक है, उनको अपडेट किया जाता है, तो क्या होता है कि बाहर चीजें आती है, पब्लिक के सामने चीजें आती हैं, तो वी ऑल्सो स्टार्ट गिविंग आवर व्यूज, एंड एक इनडायरेक्टली प्रेशर क्रिएट हो जाता है पब्लिक का. ठीक है, सो दैट इज वाई जब कोई बड़ा कन्फ्लिक्ट होता है, व्हेनेवर देयर इज अ बिग कन्फ्लिक्ट, राइट, इन मेनी बिग ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस, और अगर स्मॉल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में कोई बिग मैटर है, कोई बड़ा मैटर है, वो रेज हुआ है और वो पब्लिक के डोमेन में आ गया है, तो क्या होता है कि एक पब्लिक का प्रेशर भी बन जाता है. ठीक है, सो द रीजन इज दैट फॉर सेटिंग अप कोर्ट ऑफ इंक्वायरी. सो देयर आर मेनी गवर्नमेंट्स हु अंडर द लॉज हैव पावर टू सेट अप अ मशीनरी टू कैरी ऑन इन्वेस्टिगेशन रिलेटेड टू एनी डिस्प्यूट, एंड दैट इज व्हाई आई टोल्ड यू कि कोर्ट ऑफ इंक्वायरी सेट होता है. तो इसमें व्हाट इज द मेन रीजन? टू एनालाइज रेलेवेंट फैक्ट्स and giving them wide publicity. Why? So that the pressure of public opinion can force any party to give up a negative approach. अब अगर employer ने negative approach adapt कर रखी है workers के लिए, so what they would do is like if it comes in front of the public, then obviously the public would like give various views, right, related to that, and then if it comes under the अप्रोच ऑफ द पब्लिक, देन ऑब्वियसली द एम्प्लॉयर, चाहे उसे वो प्रैक्टिस करनी भी हो, वो अनफेयर प्रैक्टिस करनी भी हो, वो नहीं करेगा, बिकॉज इट वुड इम्पैक्ट द गुडविल ऑफ द कंपनी, राइट. सो दिस इज कंपल्सरी इन्वेस्टिगेशन. Then a very easy one, now again settlement with state intervention, compulsory arbitration or adjudication. So compulsory reference but voluntary acceptance of the award. Okay, so this is compulsory reference to the arbitrator but voluntary acceptance of the award. Here is compulsory reference and compulsory acceptance of the award. So here रेफर तो करना ही पड़ेगा कंपल्सरीली, क्योंकि स्टेट का इंटरवेंशन है, बट उसका जो अवार्ड है या उसका डिसीजन है, देयर वुड बी वॉलंटरी एक्सेप्टेंस. वी कैन एक्सेप्ट और वी कैन नॉट एक्सेप्ट. नाउ हियर इज दैट वील हैव टू रेफर इट कंपल्सरीली एंड देन कंपल्सरीली एक्सेप्ट द अवार्ड और एक्सेप्ट द डिसीजन ऑफ द आर्बिट्रेटर एज वेल. Okay, so this is it, and yes, so that's it for today's class, and tomorrow also I would come up with a new topic, so make sure that you like, share and subscribe to my channel. And yes, I have pinned the link of my Telegram channel where I update everything related to my classes. Okay, so you can subscribe to that also, and thank you. Okay.